Hello friends, welcome to this Facebook live session. Let me to introduce myself. I Dr. Niradhar De, faculty member, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome you all to this Facebook live session. Friends, as you know, regularly we are engaging ourselves in many educational discourses relating to MA education program. Today we are going to discuss another topic of one of your important course of MA education program. The course title is MES 016 Educational Research, and presently we are in the fourth block of this course. The title of the block is Data Analysis and Interpretation. So how we can analyze the quantitative data, at the same time qualitative data when we are conducting a research, when we are conducting our dissertation work. So that is that information, that knowledge and that discourses are being included in this blog. And in this blog particularly we have started our discussion on the 14th unit. The title of the unit is Analysis of Quantitative Data. Now we are focusing upon the quantitative data analysis, and in my last Facebook live session I have already discussed some part of quantitative data analysis, just like how to organize data, how to present data by using different graphs and different figures, and at the same time how to use the measures of central tendency, and particularly I have discussed in my earlier session about the mean, how to find out the mean score. And today we are going to discuss the other aspect of quantitative data, just like under measures of central tendency. Today we will be discussing the median, the mode, and further we will be discussing measures of variability or measures of dispersion, just like range, quartile deviation, average deviation and standard deviation. So friends, as this is a Facebook live session, I may not interact directly with you. I may not take all your you can say comments, your feedbacks and your queries, but definitely after taking the session, at the end of the session I will go through all your comments, all your questions, all your queries, and definitely I will respond in it. So before starting, let me to say all the video lessons which are uploaded in Facebook, at the same time in my YouTube channel, that is Transforming Education. A dedicated YouTube channel is there for MA education program, and you can use any media, any social media. It may be Facebook in my account, as well as in IGNOU MA Education Learners Group, which is a Facebook group under the Facebook account of School of Education IGNOU. And you can also use my YouTube channel. So by using any source, you can get any media, you can get the recording version of this video. And every time what I have observed that new learners, new MA education learners are getting included in this group. So that's why before starting the particular discussion of analysis of quantitative data part 2, let me to focus upon a brief overview about MA education program. As you know, this is the eligibility of this program is a bachelor's degree in any discipline with or without a degree in education from a recognized university. And further, the total credit of this program is of 68, and you have to study 34 credits in the first year of this program and 34 credits in the second year of this program. The minimum duration of this program is of 2 years, and the maximum duration of this program is of 4 years. So you have to complete all the components, all the courses of your program in a maximum duration of 4 years. And as you know, as per the practices of Indira Gandhi National Open University, we offer MA education program in both the sessions of IGNOU, that is in January, in a year, that is in January as well as July. And now July session admission is going on. Last date of admission is 30th of September. I think the date just before yesterday the date has been gone. I do not know whether it will be extended further or not. And if you have enrolled in it, it's good. And if you have not yet enrolled in this program, you can wait for if the date will not extend, then you can wait for the January session, that is January 2022 session. Then further, so far as medium of instruction is concerned, the material or the self-learning material that you have developed in MA education program in English. However, one can write their assignment, term and examination, and dissertation in Hindi medium. Okay, so this is many a time students ask question whether they are able to, or whether they can write the assignment in Hindi medium or not, whether they can appear term and examination in Hindi medium or not, or whether they can prepare their research proposal and dissertation report in Hindi or not. So let me to say that we provide questions for assignment as well as term and examination in both the medium, both in English as well as in Hindi. So you are free to write your response, your assignment response, as well as term and examination, writing term and examination in both the medium. And equally, you can also write the dissertation proposal and dissertation report both in English as well as in Hindi. Total program fee so far as July 2021 session is 18,400 that you can pay in 2 installments. That is, during the first year admission you can pay 9,200, and during the re-registration or re-admission after completion of the first year of this program, then again you have to pay 9,200. So far as the brief program framework is concerned, MA education program comprises in 4 groups of courses with differential weightage. Just like Group A consists of basic course on education, Group B is the core courses, Group C is courses on knowledge generation and education, and Group D, that is specialized areas in education. And further, we will discuss that what are the different courses are there in each block, and the so far as different group wise courses are concerned, which course you have to study in which year, that further we will discuss. Under Group A, that is basic course on education, you will find only one course is there, that is MES 011. Course title is Understanding Education. This is a 4-credit course, and you have to study this course in the first year of this program. And further, under Group B, that is core courses. Under core courses, 4 courses are included in MA education program. Courses are just like MES 012, 013, 014 and 015, and course titles are MES 012, that is Education Nature and Purpose, 013 Learning, Learner and Development, 014 Societal Context of Education, 015 is Operational Dimensions of Education. Each course is having 6 credit weightage, so total 24 credits you have to study under this group, that is core course. And all these 4 courses you have to study in the first year of this program. Then under Group C, that is courses on knowledge generation in education, 2 courses are included in this group. One is MES 016, that is educational research, that you have to study in the first year of this program. This is a 6-credit course. And the second course is MESP 001. Course title is dissertation, and you have to study this course in the second year of this program, and this is a 10-credit course. So total 16 credit course you have to study under this group, that is courses on knowledge generation in education. Then under Group D, that is specialized areas in education. So friends, let me to make it very clear that presently 5 specialized areas are included in MA education program, just like higher education, distance education, educational management, educational technology and adult education. So what you have to do, the learners have to select any one area among the 5 areas and have to study all the courses in that area. Total credit in each area is 24. So 5 areas are there. In the second year of this program, you have to select only one area. Okay, and you have to study all the courses included in that area. Okay, if you will select higher education, so what you have to do, you have to study all the courses that is included in higher education, and you will find that in each area 24 credits courses are there. You will find either 4 courses or 5 courses, and these are certain courses that are included in different specialized areas. Just like higher education, 24 credits, you have to study 4 courses: MES 101, 102, 103 and 104. Accordingly, course codes are given for other areas. So you have to select any one area and you have to study all the courses included in that area. And today's discussion is on the 6th course, that is on MES 016, which is a part of courses on knowledge generation and education under Group C. This course is included in the first year of this program, that is educational research, and this is a 6 credit course. So we are from last you can say few weeks we are discussing this course. This course is designed with 5 different blocks with 23 units. The blocks titles are just like block 1, perspective of knowledge, we have already discussed. Block 2, different types of studies in educational research, we have already discussed. Block 3 is research design. How can you make the design of every study? It includes population, it includes sample, it includes tools and techniques. Okay, so already we have discussed in our earlier Facebook live session. And presently we are in the block 4, that is data analysis and interpretation. So after getting data, so how to analyze that data? Okay, if it is a quantitative data, how to analyze it, and if it is a qualitative data, how to analyze it. So we are now discussing the block 4. Then in block 5, that is research report and application. After analyzing and interpreting the data, how can you develop a report? How can you write a report? So that is our further discussion, that is block 5. In next session, we can discuss block 5. In block 4, that is data analysis and interpretation, you will find 6 units are there, 6 different units are there, just like unit 14, that is analysis of quantitative data, that includes descriptive statistical measures, selection and application. Unit 15 is analysis of quantitative data, inferential statistics based on parametric test. Unit 16, that is analysis of quantitative data, inferential statistics based on non-parametric test. So friends, unit 14, 15 and 16 are dedicatedly included for discussing the quantitative data analysis, and unit 17 and 18, that is dedicatedly kept for discussing the qualitative data analysis. Just like unit 17 is analysis of qualitative data, and unit 18, that is data analysis techniques in qualitative research. And unit 19 is computer data analysis. How can we use computer or different applications of the computer for analyzing the data? Now let us go forward to focus upon our today's discussion point, that is analysis of quantitative data, descriptive statistical measures, its selection and application, part 2. Already the first section of this unit we have discussed in our earlier session. And today we are going to focus upon the commonly used measures of central tendency. As earlier we have discussed the concept of different types of data. So far as quantitative data and qualitative data is concerned, we have discussed it. And further we have also discussed the graphical representation of quantitative data. It may be a histogram, it may be a frequency polygon, it may be a cumulative frequency curve, it may be a cumulative percentage curve or OGAIF. We have already discussed. And in the next teaching point of this unit, that is descriptive statistical measures. Under descriptive statistical measures, the first teaching point is measures of central tendency or average. Okay. And in our last session, under measures of central tendency, we have already discussed the first measures of central tendency, that's called as mean. Okay. Which is called as the most accurate measures of central tendency, as because when we calculate mean, each and every individual scores are given importance. At the absence of a single score, single individual score or single raw score, we cannot calculate mean. Okay, so that's why mean is called as, or the average score is called as, the most accurate measures of central tendency. And further, now we are going to discuss the second techniques or the second method that we use for measuring the central tendency, that is the median. And further we will discuss the mode. Let us go forward. So friends, to discuss the concept of median, first of all, let me say that we have already discussed different scales of measurement: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. All types of measurement in education, in psychology, and all types of mental measurement are done in interval scale. And when we talk about ordinal scale, so particularly the statistics, that is median, when we calculate median, we use the ordinal scale, because median focused upon the numbers, and focused upon the scores, whether scores when we are ordering it or ranking it in terms of ascending or descending order, and we have to find out a central point. I am not saying a score, a central point below and above which 50% of the cases lie. Okay, so that's why we can say median is the midpoint of the distribution below and above which 50% of the cases lie. The median will be the point if the total number of observations or total number of scores in a group is 20. So median will be the point. Below the median you will find 10 scores will be there, and above the median you will find another 10 scores will be there. So that's why it will divide the entire distribution into two equal half. Okay, and you can say the number of items are given importance for calculation of median of the distribution. Median is considered as a point of the distribution, but not as a score. So that's why median is not called as the most accurate measures of central tendency, but mean is called as the most accurate measures of central tendency, as each and every individual scores are given importance for calculating the median. For calculating median, so far as the ungroup data is concerned, means when we are getting data, data in raw form or in ungrouped form, or the individual data, what we can do, the formula of median that we can follow, that's called as the n plus 1 by 2th item of the series. Okay, n is the total number of the cases. Just like here you see, let the scores are total 7 scores are there: 9, 22, 32, 19, 12, 26 and 15. So to n is here 7. Okay, so how to do it? What you have to do, n plus 1 by 2th item of the series, so n is here 7. First you have to arrange the score either ascending or descending. Just like here I have arranged the score in ascending order. That is the lowest to highest score. 9 is the lowest score, then 12, then 15, then 19, 22, 26 and 32. Then the formula is n plus 1 by 2th item, that is 7 plus 1 by 2th item of the series. 7 plus 1 is 8 by 2, that is the 4th item. So now you can count the item in terms of their order. Just like if I will start from ascending order, that is 9, 12, 15, then after 19. So 19 is the 4th item. So what I can do, I can just say that 19 is the median of the distribution. And further, when number of score is even, earlier it was 7. 7 means that was odd. And when n is even, that is number of scores are even, how can you do this? The same formula you have to use, n plus 1 by 2th item of the distribution, that is n is here 8, 8 plus 1 by 2, that is 9 by 2, okay, and 9 by 2 is 4.5th item, that is 4th item plus 5th item divided by 2. So here you see these are the scores: 9, 22, 32, 19, 12, 26, 15 and 25, and these scores are arranged here as per their ascending rank, as per their order, that is starting from lowest, that is 99, and the highest is 32. And you have to find out the 4.5th item. So you start from the ascending order, first, second, third, fourth. Fourth item is 19 and fifth item is 22. So what you have to do, you have to add these two items and divide it by 2 to find out the midpoint. So 19 plus 22 by 2, that is 41 by 2, that is 20.5. That means 20.5 is a point in this distribution, that is the median, below and above which 50% of the cases or 50% of the number lies. Then how can you calculate median in group data? Now we are discussing the ungrouped data. In group data, you see the formula for calculating median is L plus n by 2 minus CFB, that is cumulative frequency below the median class, divided by FM. FM is frequency of the median class, into CI. CI is the size of the class. Okay, where L is the lower limit of the median class. First we have to find out what is the median class. Okay, so median class, you will find that the class or the class which having n by 2th cases of this series. Further we will discuss that how to find out the median class, and the lower limit of the median class will be the L. Then n is total number of the cases. For n by 2, you have to divide it by 2. You have to take the half of the total number of the cases. Then CFB, cumulative frequency below the median class. You have to cumulatively you have to add the frequency to find out the cumulative frequency, and you have to take not exactly the cumulative frequency of the median class, rather cumulative frequency below the median class, which is less than the median class, the exact less than the median class, that cumulative frequency you have to take. Then FM is frequency of the median class, and CI is size of the class interval. Now let us go forward. Let me to give an example so that the things will very much clear. Here you see, as this is a group data, so class interval is given here: 90 to 94, 85 to 89, 80 to 84, 75 to 79 accordingly. Okay, then in each class frequencies are there. That means within 90 to 94, 2 students are there, or 2 frequencies are there. 85 to 89, 3. Accordingly, total number of cases is here 48. Okay, and if I to know the median class, if I will divide n by 2, that is 24 by 2. 48 by 2, that is 24. So 24 cases lies in the class interval, that is 65 to 69. Okay, so that's why this is the median class. 65 to 69 is the median class, and frequency of the median class is here 12. So then after, what you have to do, you have to calculate the cumulative frequency. So how to calculate the cumulative frequency? Cumulative frequency you can start from the highest class interval or from the lowest class interval. Let us try to calculate it from the lowest class interval, 45 to 49. So here cumulative frequency will be the exact frequency, just like 2. Then cumulative frequency for 50 to 54, that is here you have to add the 2 frequencies. You have to add 2 plus 2, that is 4. Then again 4 plus 4, that is 8. Then 4 plus 9, that is 17. Then 17 plus 12, that is 29. 29 plus 7, that is 36. So accordingly, what you have to do, you have to add the frequencies, the earlier classes frequencies, for getting cumulative frequency of the subsequent classes. Then accordingly, the last cumulative frequency will be 48. That will be equivalent to the total number of the cases. And if it is not equivalent, then you can say that you have done properly, you have done accurate. Okay, so there may be certain error in computation in getting cumulative frequency. You have done certain error, you can recheck it. And further, what you have to do after getting the median class, you have to find out, you have to use the formula to get the median. So L is the lower limit of the class. 65 was the lower limit, but you have to find out the exact lower limit. For getting exact lower limit, you have to minus 0.5 from the lower limit, that is 65 minus 0.5, that is 64.5. N by 2 is 48 by 2, that is 24. Cumulative frequency below the median class is 17. Frequency of the median class is 12 and size of the class is 5. Okay, so just like here you see the classes just like 90 to 94, 85 to 89. The size of the class is of 5. So now you put the values in the formula and you will find the median, that is 64.5 plus 24 minus 17 divided by 12 into 5. Now you simplify it. After simplification you will get the median value, that is 67.42. Okay, so you can practice it taking many examples. So here the median so far as group data is concerned is 67.42. In this way you can calculate median of a distribution when there is a group data. And so far as use of median is concerned, if few scores are not known, you can calculate median when the point dividing the distribution into two equal parts is needed. If you want to know the point that divides the distribution into two equal parts, okay, so then you can find out the median. When a distribution is marked skewed, if the distribution is normal, then you should calculate the mean. But when the distribution is not normal, what you can do, you can calculate the median. So we calculate median when there is a skewed distribution. It may be a positively skewed distribution or it may be a negatively skewed distribution. So far as the limitation of median is concerned, median scores are not considered in calculating median. Individual scores are not considered in calculating median. At the absence of a single individual score, if you just know that the subject is present but you do not know the score, still then you can calculate the median, but it should not be the middle value. Then further, median is not the accurate measures of central tendency. I have already said it cannot be used as the center of gravity of the distribution. It cannot be used for analysis of inferential statistics. So mean is used for analyzing the inferential statistics when we infer certain things, we assume certain things, but we cannot do median as it is related to a skewed data. The next measures of central tendency, that is the mode. Okay, so now let us focus upon the next measures of central tendency, that what is the concept of mode and how we can calculate mode. Mode as a measure of central tendency is used when the data is in nominal scale. So friends, mode is given importance upon the frequencies, okay, and the number and the frequencies, and that is very much fit with a nominal scale. In a nominal scale, what do? We just classify data in terms of their numbers. How many rural population is there? How many urban population is there? How many boys students are there? How many girl students are there? Okay, how many government school students are there? How many private school students are there? How many people are from high socioeconomic strata? How many are mediocre socioeconomic strata? And how many are low socioeconomic strata? So what you are saying, I am just focusing upon certain numbers, certain frequencies. I am just telling about the number. So that's why the median is used in a nominal scale, and simply we can say that mode is the most frequently occurred item or score in the series. Let there is a series, many items are there, many scores are there. So what you have to do, you have to find out the frequencies. The score is occurred how many times, okay, and the most occurred score or the most frequent score is called as the mode. Further we will discuss. Mode is not an accurate or reliable measure of central tendency. There is the possibility of more than one mode in a distribution. So there may be the possibility of bimodal class, trimodal class or multimodal class. More than one mode can possible. Okay, so if certain items are having highest frequency but equally highest frequency, let in a score 22, is coming maximum time, that is 5 times. Another score, let 31, that also comes maximum time, that is 5 times. So we can say that here in a distribution 2 modes are there. That is a bimodal class. Accordingly, there is the possibility to get more than 2 means. If it is 3 means, we can say it's a trimodal class. And many a time, if more than 3 means are there, then we can say it is a multimodal class. So many more are available in that distribution. But so far as mean and median is concerned, you will find that in a distribution only one mean and one median will be there, but multiple mode can possible in a distribution. Now let us focus upon how can you calculate mode in ungrouped data. Just like here you see, that's called as empirical mode or crude mode. Okay, mode in ungrouped data can also be called as empirical mode or crude mode. So how to calculate it? Just like here you see 15 individual scores are there. These are the 15 individual scores: 30, 32, 41, 45, 40, 32, 40. N is here 15. So what you have to do, first you have to write the score without a repetition. If a score is coming repeatedly, no need of writing that score, you can say again and again frequently. Rather, what you have to do, just find out the scores without repetition and write the scores. And further, then find out that the score, the individual scores are coming how many times. It means the frequencies of the individual score. Just like here, 30, the frequency of 30 is 1, the frequency of 32 is 2, frequency of 40 is 2. Accordingly, you find out the frequencies of the individual scores. And here you see in this distribution, 45 is a score, it comes most frequently, that is 3 times. But the other scores are coming either once or twice. So that's why simply you can say that mode is 45 in this distribution. But here you see, I was talking earlier, mean is called as the most accurate measures of central tendency, as each and every individual scores are given weightage, given importance. But here you see, what you are doing, you are just ignoring 30, 32, 40, 41, 49, 57, 59, 60 and 65 while we calculate mode. Only we are taking a score which is having highest frequency. Okay, so that's why mode is not called as the most accurate measures of central tendency. But in this way, we can calculate mode in ungrouped data. And further, we can calculate mode for group data, that's called as true mode. Okay. For calculating true mode or mode in group data, we can use 2 types of method. One is called as direct method and other is called as the indirect method. Now let us focus upon how to use indirect method and how to use direct method. In indirect method, the formula of mode is, that is 3 into median minus 2 into mean. That's called as 3 median minus 2 mean. That means first we have to calculate the median. We have to multiply it by 3. Then next we have to calculate the mean. We have to multiply it by 2. Then we have to minus it. And in this way, we can indirectly calculate mode by calculating median and mean first. Then in direct method, we can also calculate mode. That is, mode is equal to L plus F1 minus F0 upon 2 into F1 minus F0 minus F2 into F5. So L is the lower limit of the distribution of the modal class. F1 is the frequency of the modal class. F0 frequency below the modal class, and F2 frequency above the modal class, into size of the class. Now let us go forward to understand that how can you do this. Here I have taken one example. These are the class interval. I have taken the same classes here, 90 to 99. No, it's not the same classes. 90 to 99, 80 to 89, 70 to 79. Accordingly, classes are there. Then the first point, I have calculated the midpoint of the classes. Just like 90 to 99, midpoint is 94.5. That is 90 plus 99 divided by 2, that is 94.5. Accordingly, midpoint of 80 to 89 is 84.5. Then accordingly, all the midpoints are calculated here. And the frequencies of the classes, just like 90 to 99 frequency is 2, 80 to 89 it is 3, 70 to 79 it is 4, 60 to 69 it is 7. Okay, so here frequencies are calculated, and total frequency or total number of the cases n is equal to 40 here. Then further what we have to do, we have to calculate the cumulative frequency, okay, because we have to calculate both mean and median. Then in indirect method we can reach at the mode, that is 3 median minus 2 mean. I have already discussed that how to calculate the cumulative frequency. So cumulatively how frequency is getting added in the subsequent classes. Just like here, cumulative frequency of the first class will be the same as frequency, that is 1. Then the second class it will be 1 plus the subsequent frequency 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. Then again 3 plus subsequent frequency is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. Then 8 plus 6 is 14, 14 plus 10 is 24, plus 7 is 31 accordingly. And the last cumulative frequency of the class 90 to 99 is 40. It is equivalent to the total number of the cases. After calculating the frequency, your next work is to find out the deviation. Okay. So how can you calculate the deviation? Deviation is, I have already discussed in assumed mean method. So that you can say that midpoint, that's called as the x minus am upon ci. X is the midpoint of the distribution, am is the assumed mean. Okay, assumed mean is the mean having high, is the class of the distribution having highest frequency. We assume that our mean is there. Okay, so that's why highest frequency is here 10 in this distribution. We assume that the midpoint of 50 to 55 is the assumed mean, that is 54.5 is the assumed mean. So how to calculate the x minus am upon ci? Just like the assumed mean of the first class, that is 94.5 minus 54.5, okay, divided by 10, as size of the class is here 10. So 94.5 minus 54.5 is 40, 40 divided by 10 is 4. Then accordingly in other classes the deviation will be 80 to 89 3, 70 to 79 2, 60 to 69 1, 50 to 59 0. Then accordingly it is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4. Okay. And further, after doing this, your next work is to multiply frequency and the deviation, f into d. So that is 2 into 4 is 8, 3 into 3 is 9. Accordingly you have to find out. Then now you have to add it. You will find certain, in FD you will find certain positive values. At the same time you will also find certain negative values. So you add all these positive values and also add all these negative values, and further try to find out the summation of FD. Sum of the multiplication of frequency and the deviation, that is 6 here. So in this way you can calculate. Now you use the formula mode in the indirect method, that is 3 into median minus 2 mean, 2 into mean. So first you have to calculate median in group data, that is L plus n by 2 minus cumulative frequency below the median class upon frequency of the median frequency of the median class into size of the class or class interval. So the values are n by 2 is 20, L is 49.5, cumulative frequency below the median class is 14, frequency of the median class is 10 and class interval is also 10. So now put these values and you will find that your median is 55.5. After getting the median value 55.5, your next work is to find out the mean. Mean in assumed mean method, the formula is AM, that is assumed mean plus summation of FD upon n into CI. Friends, if you have not gone through the earlier Facebook live session or the video lesson, you will face difficulty to understand it. I have already discussed the assumed mean method, how you can calculate mean. So that's why if you have not gone through it, definitely go through the videos which is in the IGNOU MA Education Learners Archive in the Facebook group. Okay, so video lessons are there in the archive. Go through it, the recording versions, go through the recording versions and definitely you will understand. So mean in assumed mean method, here AM is 54.5, N is 40, CI is 10 and summation of FD is 6. Now put these values, you will find that here mean in assumed mean method is 56. So now if you put these values 2 into median, 3 into median minus 2 into mean, that is 3 into 55.5 minus 2 into 56. So the values that you will get 54.5. So here mode is 54.5 so far as indirect method is concerned. And the next, let me to discuss mode in direct method. Okay, so here you see the formula of mode is L plus F1 minus F0 upon 2 into F1 minus F0 minus F2 into Ci. L is the lower limit of the modal class. First you have to find out the modal class. Then the exact lower limit will be the lower limit of the modal class. Ci is size of the class interval. F1 frequency of the modal class. F0 frequency of the class preceding of the modal class, means the class which is less than the modal class. Then F2 frequency of the class succeeding the modal class. Now try to understand that how to do it. Here you see calculation of mode in direct method. Here you see these are the class intervals 90 to 99, 80 to 89, 70 to 79. Okay, and these are the frequencies 2, 3, 4, 7, 10, 6 accordingly. So what you have to do, first of all, to know the modal class, you have to find out the class having highest frequency. So highest frequency is here 10. Okay, so 10 comes in this class 50 to 59. So 50 to 59 is the modal class. Exact lower limit will be 49.5. You have to minus 0.5 from the lower limit of the modal class. And F0 will be the frequency below the modal class, that is 6. Then the frequency above the modal class, that is 7, that will be the F2. And total number of cases is here 40. So now just put the values. L is 49.5 plus F1 frequency of the modal class is 10. F0 preceding the modal class frequency is 6. Then 2 into 10 minus 6 minus F2 is 7. Frequency of the succeeding of the modal class into size of the class is here 10. So now 49.5 plus 4 by 7 into 10. Just simplify it, you will find 55.21. So in the direct method, we got that the value of mode is here 55.21. And next is use of mode. Where to use the mode? Mode is used when it is required to find the most frequently occurred item as the measures of central tendency. If you want to know that which item are occurring most frequently, okay, so for that we have to calculate the mode. When a quick and approximate measures of central tendency is required. If you want to do it quickly, okay, let huge scores are there and it takes time to calculate the mean, then what you can do, you can calculate mode if you want a very quick result. When data is incomplete and skewed, okay, just like median, here if data is incomplete, data is not complete in sense, there is the absence of few data, and if the data is skewed either at the positive side or at the negative side, then we can say that we can use mode. And mode can be used in nominal scale, I have already discussed. At the same time, there are many limitations of using mode. Just like mode can only be used as a rough estimate of measures of central tendency, it can never be an accurate measures of central tendency. There is the possibility of getting more than one mode in a distribution. It may be a bimodal class, or it may be a trimodal class, or it may be a multimodal class. But there is no repetition so far as median and mean is concerned in a distribution. So these are the certain limitations in mode. Next, friends, now we will focus upon our second teaching point, that is concept of variability or dispersion. So what are the different measures that we can use, different statistical techniques that we can use for measuring the dispersion, for measuring the spreadness of the scores, for measuring variability of the scores, how the scores are varying, okay, within the group. Let us see here. First, we will try to understand with one example. Here you see 3 groups. The scores of 8 students in 3 different groups are given. Group A, Group B, and Group C. In Group A, 8 scores are there. Group B, 8 scores are there. In Group C also 8 scores are there. So what you can do, you can just calculate Let's calculate mean of these three groups. Just like in group A, mean is 160 upon 8 is 20. In group B, 160 upon 8 is 20, and group C also, incidentally, it is 20. Okay, and you see in these three different groups, you are getting accidental. You are getting the mean is 20. Okay, but when the mean is similar in three different groups, can you say that these three groups are exactly equivalent? Three groups are same? You cannot say, because when you will go through the spreadness of the scores, when you will go through the lowest and highest score of the group in three different groups, it is different. Just like in the first group, you see lowest score is 10, but in the second group, lowest score is 8. Okay, here it is 8, and in the first group, you see highest score is 30, but in second group, highest score is 32. Okay, and in the third group, highest score is 35. So accordingly, the range differs here. At the same time, the spread of score is also different. So that's why, though it seems that mean score is equal in three different groups, but these groups are not really equivalent, really equal. These groups, there is certain variability, dispersion, and so far as spreadness of the scores are concerned, it is different. It is not an equivalent or a similar group. So here, in the measures of dispersion or measures of variability, we will be discussing that how to measure the spreadness of the scores, how the scores are variable in the group. Okay, four types of measures we can use, four types of statistics we can use for measuring the dispersion, just like range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, and standard deviation. This is the measures of dispersion or variability. Now let us focus upon different methods, different techniques of measuring the dispersion. Just like the first technique is range. Range may be defined simply as the interval between the lowest and the highest score. So here it is the gap between two extreme values in a distribution. Let in a distribution, extreme value is 2, and the lowest extreme value is 2 and the highest extreme value is 100. So you can find out the range, that is 100 minus 2. Okay, so this is the gap, the difference between, or the interval between the lowest and the highest score, just to find out the range. Just like range can be calculated by using highest score minus lowest score. So this is the, you can say, the most or the surface level of measures of dispersion. Okay, the lowest level of measures of dispersion. Then further, the second measures of dispersion or measures of variability, that's called as concept of quartile deviation. So now let us try to understand that how we can calculate the quartile deviation. Okay, this is also called as semi-interquartile range. Okay, and quartile deviation is the 1/2 scale distance between the third and the first quartile. So friends, in a distribution, what you have to do, you have to arrange the scores either ascending or descending order. And let you have arranged the scores in descending order. It means the top score is at the highest score is at the bottom, and the lowest score is at the top, and lowest score is at the bottom. Okay, you have to count the scores. In quartile deviation, quarter means 1/4. So you have to make 1/4. So that means you have to divide the total number by 4. Let total number of the scores are 20. So you have to divide 20 by 4. That is 5. That means from the lowest level of this score, you have to count 5 scores. After 5 scores, put a point, and that point will be the Q1. So Q1 is a point below which 25% of the cases lie, and above which 75% of the cases lie. Accordingly, next is means after 10th course, if total number of scores are 20, after 10 scores, the point below the 10 scores, that below the point 10 scores, that point is called as the Q2. Q2 is that's called as second quartile. It means below and above which 50% of the cases lie. And for the Q3, that means from the lowest you have to count 15 scores. Then you have to put a point. That means Q3, that point is called as the Q3, or you can say that is also 75th percentile. So that means Q3 is a point of the distribution below which 75% of the cases lie and above which 25% of the cases lie. So in this way, you can calculate Q3, Q1 and Q2. Just like here, I can say that quartile deviation, this is the formula of quartile deviation, that's called as the Q. Q is equal to Q3 minus Q1 by 2. That means you have to calculate the third quartile, then you have to calculate the first quartile, then you have to minus it, Q3 minus Q1. Further, you have to divide it by 2. So that's why quartile deviation is called as, it is the semi-interquartile between the third and the first quartile. Okay, or half of the scale distance between third and first quartile is the quartile deviation. And further we can say for Q3 we can write P75 and for Q1 we can write P25. P75 means 75th percentile, P25 means 25th percentile. So that will be equivalent with Q3. P75 is equivalent with Q3 and P25 is equivalent with Q1. So now let us try to take one example and find out that how we can calculate quartile deviation. Here you see I have already said that Q1 is first quartile, that's equivalent to P25, that is 25th percentile. Q2 is equivalent to P50, that is 50th percentile and equivalent to median. Q3 is the third quartile, equivalent to P75, okay, that is 75th percentile you can say. Now let us try to understand that how to calculate quartile deviation in an ungrouped data. Here you see ungrouped data scores are given, total number of scores are here 20, n is equal to 20. So what you have to do, you have to arrange the scores in descending order. All the 20 scores are arranged here, you see scores in descending order, highest score is 30 and lowest score is 4. So accordingly the scores are arranged from highest to lowest. And here you see to calculate Q1, what you have to do, total score is 20. You have to find out the 1 quarter. So that is 20 divided by 4. Q1 means 1/4, that is n by 4. So 20 by 4 is equal to 5. So you just count 5 scores from the lowest order of the score, that is 4, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 9th is the 5th score and 10th is the 6th score. You have to find out a point between 5th and 6th score. So that's why you have to add 6th score plus 5th score divided by 2. So 19, 10 plus 9 is equal to 19 by 2 is 9.5. Accordingly for Q3 also you can calculate, that is 25 plus 22 by 2, 47 by 2, that is 23.5. So that is 3n by 4. That means 3 into n is 30 and 60 divided by 4 is equal to 15. So from the lowest order you have to count 15 scores, and then after what you have to do, you have to take the 15th score as well as the 16th scores. You have to add 15th and 16th scores and you have to divide it by 2. So that will be the third quartile. So after getting Q3 and Q1, just use the formula, that is quartile deviation is Q3 minus Q1 by 2, that is 23.5 minus 9.5 divided by 2, that is 14 by 2 is equal to 7. So 7 is here quartile deviation. Then calculation of quartile deviation in group data. Now let us focus upon how you can calculate quartile deviation in a group data. So here you see scores are given and frequencies are given. Class intervals, scores are given in class interval order and frequencies are given, and total number of frequency is here 100. So what you have to do, first you have to calculate Q1. The formula of Q1 is L plus n by 4 minus cumulative frequency below the first quartile class divided by frequency of the first quartile class into Ci. Okay, so n by 4 is 1/4 of the total number of the cases. L is the lower limit of the first quartile class. CFBQ, you are not going to take the cumulative frequency of the first quartile class, you are going to take the cumulative frequency below the first quartile class. Then FQ is frequency of the first quartile class and CI is the size of the class. And accordingly Q3, everything will be same. But in case of n by 4, now it will be 3n by 4. 3n by 4 means it is you can say the 75th percentile. Okay. And CFBQ, that is cumulative frequency below the third quartile class. So earlier it was cumulative frequency below the first quartile class, and FQ is here frequency below the frequency of the third quartile class. Okay, so this is the difference. Now try to understand with an example. Here you see class intervals are given. For Q1, total number is here 100. So 100 by 4, that is n by 4 is 25. So 25 falls in this class because cumulative frequency is here 44. So 40 to 49 will be the first quartile class, and lower limit will be here 39.5. Then for 3n by 4, 3 into 100 by 4, 300 by 4 is 75. So here you see 75. This is the cumulative frequency of 79. That means 75 comes in this class, that is 50 to 59. And the lower limit of 50 to 59, that is 49.5, will be the exact lower limit of the third quartile class. And further, cumulative frequency of the first quartile class is 24 and second quartile class is 44. Frequency of the first quartile is 20 and second quartile is 35. After doing this, now just you put the values of Q1, that is L plus n by 4 minus CFBQ upon FQ into CI. Put these values, you will find the result. So here first quartile deviation or Q1 is equal to 40, and accordingly in Q3 find out the values here. Then Q3, Q is equal to Q3 minus Q1. So Q3 here, these are the values. Put these values in Q3. Now you are getting lower limit is 49.5, 3n by 4 is 75, minus CFBQ is 44 divided by 35 into 10. So simplify it, you will find 58.4 is the Q3. And your next work is Q3 minus Q1 by 2. Okay, so here 58.4 minus 40, it is Q3, it is Q1 divided by 2. That is 18.2. 18.4 by 2, that is 9.2. So 9.2 is the quartile deviation. So now how can we interpret quartile deviation? Quartile deviation is independent of the problem of extreme values, and therefore it is more representative and authentic than range. So range is the lowest level of measures of dispersion, but here you will find that it is more authentic and representative than mean. Q3 minus median, you can say that it's median minus Q1. That difference will be the same. In case of non-symmetrical distribution, two possibilities may be arise, that is Q3 minus median is greater than median minus Q1 when the distribution is positively skewed. When it is negatively skewed, that is Q3 minus median will be less than median minus Q1. Okay, and in a normal distribution, always the second quartile, that is second quartile is the median, because the definition of second quartile and the median is same. Then further we will discuss mean deviation. So how to find out the mean deviation? So friends, in mean deviation, how can you calculate? Let a group of scores are there. Okay, so what you will be doing, first you have to calculate the mean score, and you have to find out the deviation of mean scores from the individual score, from the raw score. Okay, so that is, let the raw score is 20 and mean is 15. So what is the deviation? So 20 minus 5 is equal to 5. Then here you have to find out all the deviations. It depends upon how many scores are there in the distribution. So if 10 scores are there, you will find one mean but 10 scores. So from mean to first individual score, second individual score, third individual score, then 10th individual score, you will find 10 deviations. So after getting 10 deviations, just you calculate the average of those deviations, and that average is called as the mean deviation. Just like we can take one example here. Certain scores are there, 10 scores are given here, and first you calculate the mean, that is summation of x upon n. You add all these scores divided by 10, because n is here 10. It is 140 divided by 10 is 14. So 14 is here mean. Just like here you see in a distribution, you see this is a very good example. Mean is here 14. So mean is here 14, and these are the 10 individual scores, just like 30, 22, 15, 18, 20, 10, 12, 5, 3 and 5. And what you have to do, mean you have already calculated by adding all these numbers and divide it by 10, that is 14. So now find out the deviation of the first individual score 30 to mean, then 22 to mean, 15 to mean, 18 to mean, 20 to mean accordingly. So this is the deviation, just like x1 is 30 minus 14 is equal to 16. Then second 22 minus 14, that is 8. Then accordingly you will also get negative deviations, just like if scores are less than the mean, just like 10 minus 14. 10 is a score, but mean is here 14. So 10 minus 14 is minus 4, is equal to minus 4. So minus 4 is here deviation. So deviation may come in positive or in negative, but so far as average deviation is concerned, that is irrespective of sign. That's called as X modulus. Okay, X modulus or the D modulus. So modulus means here all sign will be positive. There will not be, though negative sign is there, we are not calculating the mathematical operations here. We are just find out the deviation only. Whether it is in positive or in negative, it is least concerned, because modulation concept is used here. Formula that we can use for calculating mean deviation, that's called a summation of x modulus upon n. You add all this all the deviations already you have calculated. First you calculate the mean, then find out the deviations. Okay, then after getting the deviations, add all these deviations, and if there is a negative sign, just make it positive, then add, then divide it by 10, just like 76 by 10 is equal to 7.6 in mean deviation. So friends, when data is given in grouped order, in class interval order, so you can use this formula, just like mean deviation is equal to summation of fx modulus upon n. Okay, so deviation of midpoint of the class interval x from the mean, that is the deviation, and fx frequency multiply with the deviation, and for mean you can calculate summation of fx by n. Okay, so in this way you can calculate. Let me to explain with one example. Here you see in the group data, class intervals are given starting from 10 to 19 and highest is 90 to 99. Mid values are also calculated. Then here frequencies of the classes are calculated. Total frequency is here 100. Okay, and further f into x, midpoint, that is x, is multiplied with the frequencies. So 14.5 into 2 is 29, 24.5 into 4 is 98. So accordingly frequency is multiplied with this course. then after doing this, what we can do, we can find out the deviations. We can find out the deviation, that is deviations of individual score, or here it is the midpoints from the mean, just like 14.5 and mean is 58.5. 14.5 minus 58.5. So accordingly you can calculate the deviation, and its modulus is there, so that's why here minus sign will not be there. So summation of fx modulus, that is x modulus into f. So here 44.2 into frequency is 2 here, into 2, that is 48.4. 34.2 into 4 is 136.8. So accordingly you find out the modular fx modulus, and further you add all the fx modulus, that is 1270.40. So now you can calculate mean deviation in group data by using the formula. Mean already you have calculated 58.7. Then the formula mean deviation is summation of fx modulus upon n. Fx modulus is 1270.40 in the last formula that we have discussed. in the last calculation here we have discussed, just use it, and total number of cases, that is n, is here 100. Just you divide by 100, it is 12.704 is the mean deviation. Mean deviation provides a clear picture of the spreadness of the scores, and it makes meaningful of the data interpretation. So only deviation is not enough. If someone will ask you, or if you want to interpret that what is the mean or what is the average deviations in the group, whether it is a high average deviation or a very low average deviation, so that also you can calculate. Then the next concept of measures of variability or measures of dispersion, that is the standard deviation. Standard deviation, that's called as SD, or in symbol we can say it is as sigma, is commonly and frequently used measures of dispersion because SD is the most consistent and stable index of variability. As I was talking earlier, if a single score is absent, you cannot calculate mean. Accordingly, in measures of variability and in measures of dispersion, if a single score is absent, you cannot calculate the standard deviation. So that's why standard deviation is called as the most accurate measures of dispersion or the most accurate measures of variability. Standard deviation is equally used in analyzing achievement scores of the students. At the same time, for using it in any higher order statistics, in any parametric statistics that we use in research, just like in t-test, that is to know the significance difference between two mean scores, and by using the ANOVA analysis of variance or analysis of covariance, or even if in the product moment coefficient of correlation we use the standard deviation scores, and this is we use this standard deviation for higher order analysis of the data. And here, how can we calculate standard deviation? In definition, I can say that the deviations of all scores taken from their mean, first you have to find out the deviations of individual scores from the mean, and then square root of their average, and you have to find out square root of their average is known as standard deviation. You have to square it, then you have to find out the whole square root. Okay, and the symbol that we use for standard deviation is the sigma. Here, in conclusion, it may be said that the sum of squared deviations from the mean divided by n is known as the variance, and the square root of the variance is known as the standard deviation. I think it may be a little complex. Let us try to discuss it with an example. So how can you calculate it? Here you see the same example I am taking here. Let 10 scores are there. These are the individual scores, 30, 22, 15, 18, 20 accordingly. And we have add all these scores and divide it by 10. So we have received the mean score. Mean score is 14. Okay. So first what you have to do, you have to calculate the deviation. Deviation of individual score from the mean, that is 30 minus 14, 22 minus 14, 15 minus 14 accordingly. That is x1, x2, x3, that is deviation 1, deviation 2, deviation 1. So here deviations are calculated, some are in positive and some are in negative. Then further, after calculating it, your next work is find out the square. You square all the deviations. Okay, that is d square, x1 square, x2 square, x3 square accordingly. Then after squaring it, just add all these deviations. Then after adding it, divide it by the total number of the cases here, 10. Then take the square root of the whole values that you are getting. So that will be the standard deviation. So here we are not talking only about the simple deviation or averaging the deviation, but here we are discussing with a norm, with a standard, that what is the standard deviation. Okay, so that's why the formula in on-group data for calculating standard deviation is sigma is equal to square root of summation of d square or x square or a deviation square divided by m. So here small x is equal to x minus m. Now try to understand with an example. Here you see in on-group data certain scores are there, 10 scores are there, the same example. Here x, find out the sum of the x, sum of the scores, that is 140, add all these scores and find out the mean. 140 divided by 10, that is 14. And your next work is to find out the deviation, that's called as the D. So D is here 30 minus 14 is 16, 8, 1, 4. Already we have calculated in our next slides with example we have discussed. Then further you square the deviations, just like the square of 16 is 256, square of 8 is 64, square of 1 is 1, accordingly. Then sum of square of, so now you add all these squares, that is summation of x is 676. After getting 676 is sum of the square deviations, then use the formula, that is 676 divided by 10 whole square root. Okay, so now it is, you are getting 67.6 root over, that is 8.22. So 8.22 is the standard deviation. And further we can use, we can calculate standard deviation in group data when there is in ungrouped data when there is frequencies of the scores. In ungrouped data, if repeated frequencies are there, so how can you calculate? The formula, that is sigma, is equal to root over summation of fx square upon n. F is the frequency, x is the deviation, that is x minus m, n is total number of the frequencies. So try to do it with one example. So here you see one example of ungrouped data is given with frequency. These are the scores, individual scores 10, 12, 8, 15 accordingly, and frequency just like 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1, 1 accordingly. Total number of cases is here 10. And fx, here you see multiply f with x because you have to find out the mean to find the deviation. So summation of fx is equal to 220 and mean will be summation of fx upon n, 220 by 20, that is 11. Now find out the deviation, that's called as the x. X is equal to x minus m, that is 10 minus 11. 10 minus 11 is minus 1. 12 minus 11 is 1. You find out the deviation. Then square all these deviations. Okay, get the square. Then multiply or find out the fx square, that means squares of the deviation into frequency. Okay, this has been calculated, and now sum of square of the frequencies and the deviations, that is 430. Now use these values in the formula, that is square root of summation of fx square upon n, that is square root of 430 upon 20, that is 21, square root of 21.5, that is 4.63. So in this way you can calculate standard deviation in ungrouped data when scores are repeated. Now let us calculate standard deviation in group data long method. So in group data, here you see the data is given in class interval order. Here is the frequencies, total number of cases is here 10. First we have calculated the mid values of the class interval. Then we have multiplied frequency with the midpoint of the class interval. We have calculated it, and we have taken the sum of frequency multiplied with the mid value of the class. Summation of fx, that is 5870. Then further fx square, because as per the formula we have to calculate fx square. So x into fx is fx square. So we have multiplied x with fx. Then we have add summation of fx square, that is 371805. After doing this, next just put it in the formula of standard deviation in group data long method, that is SD or sigma is equal to summation of fx square upon n minus summation of fx upon n whole square, then whole square root over. Now put the values. Summation of fx square is 371805 divided by n is 100 minus summation of fx is 5870 divided by n is 100, then square, then root over. And now you are getting the standard deviation by simplifying it, it is 16.50. Then for the standard deviation in group data sort method is CI, size of the class, into summation of FD square upon n minus summation of FD square upon n. Okay, so how to do it? Here you have to find out the deviation from the assumed mean in terms of class interval in short method for standard deviation. That is, x is the midpoint, mid value of the classes of the class interval, and am is the assumed mean. You have to calculate your assumed mean. Then ci is the size of the class. Okay, so now let us try to understand with an example. Here you see size of the class 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and the highest class is here 90 to 99. These are the frequencies. Midpoint I have calculated, and d is x minus m. Assumed mean will be the midpoint of the class having highest frequency. So here highest frequency is 35. That already you have studied in assumed mean method when we are discussing mean. So midpoint of this class is 54.5. So x minus am, x is the midpoint, am is the assumed mean, and divided by 10. 10 is the size of the class. 10 to 19, 20 to 29, size of the class is here 10. So you can get the value of deviation. Some will be negative and some will be positive. Then next what you have to do, you have to multiply frequency with the deviation. That's called as FD. Okay. So here 2 into minus 4 is minus 8, 4 into minus 3 is minus 12, 5 into minus 2 is 10 accordingly. Then now you add all the frequency multiplied with deviation. That is, sum of FD is 42. Then you multiply FD with D to get FD square, because in formula you require two values. One is summation of FD and other is summation of FD square. So that's why after getting FD into D, that is FD square, you add all this FD square, that is summation of FD square is equal to 290. Now in the formula, put the values in the formula. That is, ci is 10 into 290 by 100 minus 42 by 100 square. Okay, square of 42 by 100. You simplify it, you will get 16.50 at the standard deviation. So friends, in this way you can calculate standard deviation by using short method, or that is also called as assumed mean method. Now let us focus upon the use of standard deviation. When we need to know the most reliable measures of variability, we can calculate standard deviation. When mean has been used as a measure of central tendency, we can calculate standard deviation. When we want to consider all the scores according to their size, okay, we can calculate standard deviation. And when we want to use higher statistics, just like correlation, t-test, ANOVA and ANCOVA, you can calculate standard deviation also. And these measures of dispersion informs the teacher of the variability in class, and hence it helps the teacher to prepare personalized instruction to address the need of deprived students. So friends, only measuring measures of central tendency or measures of variability, or by using only one technique of measures of central tendency or measures of variability is not enough. To get a clear picture about the spreadness of this course, range of this course, deviation of this course, average deviations of this course, you will be using different statistics. So that's why these are the certain important statistical techniques that are being included in your studies, in your unit, so that when you will do the dissertation in the second year of MA education program, if quantitative data you are getting, you can just analyze and interpret the quantitative data. So friends, just to recapitulate, today we discussed 4 or 5 different important aspects, important method. That is, first we discussed the median, then we discussed the mode that comes under measures of central tendency to calculate the central value of a distribution, and further we discussed the measures of variability, and here we discussed 4 different techniques or methods for knowing the spreadness of this course, for knowing the variability of this course, for knowing the deviations of this course, for knowing the standard deviation of this course. Okay, so that is range, then quartile deviation, then average deviation, and standard deviation. I am very much hopeful that when you will go through the learning materials, when you will read the learning materials, definitely watch this video lesson. You will find that your queries will be solved, and you will feel very easy to understand the content. And for further queries, you are writing mail to me, and I motivate you. In case any difficulty, definitely write a mail to me. My mail ID is niradhar@ignou.ac.in. My intercom number is 2994. You can make me a telephone call also. And you can visit my Facebook account, my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Transforming Education. You will find that more than 250 you can say content based video lessons are there relating to MA education program of IGNOU, and at the same time on other themes, other popular themes on education. So that will help you in your study, and that will also help you for understanding other educational discourses. And you can also go through my Twitter handle. You will find many learning resources that will truly help you for your studies. In our next session, we'll discuss the other aspect of quantitative data analysis. Thank you.